I'll just move on to an overview of our agenda. I'll give a very brief summary of what the Week Without Driving is in case anyone's not familiar, although I'm assuming many of you folks are. A little bit of data on Wisconsin's non-driver population, and then we'll get into reflections and Q&A and discussion after that. So, in case people were not aware of what the Week Without Driving was, um, it is organized by America Walks or created by America Walks for those that have the option to drive, to learn firsthand, experience firsthand about the barriers and challenges that non-drivers face. And it's also to facilitate a space for all road users to work together to create more accessible communities. And this quote on the screen is from the Week Without Driving website. And I'll read it really quickly. If you can drive or afford a car, you may not understand what it's like to rely on walking, rolling, transit, and asking for rides. But for nearly a third of people living in the United States, people with disabilities, young people, seniors, and people who can't afford cars or gas, this is our everyday. This is my everyday. Um, and I'll read that data point again. A third of people living in the United States are non-drivers. And in Wisconsin, that number is pretty similar. According to WisDOT, about 31% of Wisconsin's total population are non-drivers, and they define that as aging adults, students, low-income individuals, those with physical, sensory, mental, or developmental disabilities, and those who prefer not to drive or are licensed but have limited access to a vehicle. I also checked in to see how they collected or how they reported who was a non-driver. They also included folks who had a license but weren't connected to a registered vehicle. So for those who have also been keeping tabs on this non-driver data, that's something I learned. Um, in this table here, I pulled out some of the data points. So the counties for our presenters today are reflected here. That's Dane County for Madison, Brown County for Green Bay, and La Crosse County for La Crosse. And then I included Milwaukee and Menominee counties as kind of reference points. Milwaukee is the largest county by population in the state, and Menominee is the smallest by population in the state. A few things to notice about those largest and smallest counties is they both are the only two counties in the state with a 40% or more non-driver population. There are a lot of reasons why that could be. Um, the different circumstances of each county, what the population makeup is like, a lot of things that I think are worth looking into. Maybe not for this presentation today, but something to keep an eye on and think about in conversations moving forward about how we make driving better, or not driving, mobility better for all people. Another thing I kind of pulled out in the math is that more people who are non-drivers in Milwaukee in Milwaukee County by number is larger than the population of Brown County itself. So more people are non-drivers in Milwaukee County than there are people in Brown County. Just an interesting tidbit I pulled out. And then lastly, something I want to acknowledge about this data before we move on to our reflections is that the counties that are represented by our speakers today have the highest populations in the state. So Milwaukee, even though it has quite a high population compared to Dane, Brown, and La Crosse, Dane, Brown, and La Crosse have among the highest populations in the state. And so I want to acknowledge that we're missing out on the stories from smaller counties or more rural counties with smaller populations, tribal populations, which have definitely a different and more valuable story to tell about mobility access. Another thing that we want to acknowledge with conversations moving forward. With that data, I'll take a moment to pause and introduce. Our first speakers will be Zia Brukaya and Kayla Haas from the Greater Madison, can you remind me? Metropolitan Planning Organization to talk about their reflections in the Week Without Driving in Dane County. So I'll hand it over to you now, Zia and Kayla.
Great. Thank you, Rafi. So Yes, my name is Zia Brukaya, and I'm a planner and the round trip program manager with the Greater Madison MPO, which is Metropolitan Planning Organization. So we are a regional planning agency. We're standalone from the city of Madison. We cover the kind of urbanized area of Dane County, which is the majority of Dane County. And I'm here with my colleague Kayla Haas, and we'll be sharing some of the things that we did for Week Without Driving this year and some of the reflections. So this is the second year in a row that the MPO has been involved in coordinating the partner efforts to recognize Week Without Driving in Dane County. This was something that originally we became interested in because it really aligns with the MPO's mission, which is to lead the collaborative, long range planning and funding of the transportation system in our region that will meet the needs of everyone and support a high quality of life for everyone. So we work with all of our area communities to do that, and our focus is on developing a multimodal system that works for everyone, not just those who can afford or are able to drive. So this opportunity to promote the Week Without Driving is in great alignment with that. Next slide. So these are all of the partners who were involved in supporting Week Without Driving this year. We started our planning in March, so this was a lot earlier than we started last year. We did some more things that we'll get into. And I would just point out here that we're really proud of the range of interests that are represented here with all of the partners who stepped up in Dane County. And we're really thankful to all of them because, this is absolutely a collaborative, collective effort to get all these things off the ground. So, we had regional agencies, the MPO and the Regional Planning Commission. We regularly had staff and elected officials from multiple communities, not just City of Madison, participating in the planning calls. And then we have the UW-Madison and nonprofits that are representing a range of interests. So active transportation, biking, walking, seniors, people with disabilities, sustainable land use and development and economic development. So this broad range of perspectives, I think, led to a really strong effort here in Dane County. Next slide. And we had 6 communities this year that issued official forms of recognition of Week Without Driving, whether as a proclamation or a resolution. New this year was the city of Monona joining us. And we did reach out to the governor's office about a statewide proclamation. That was declined. However, Senator Ratcliffe's office connected with us after that and said that they would be happy to issue a statewide citation of commendation, which we hadn't heard of, but turned out to be a really cool thing where they issued this citation recognizing all of the efforts happening throughout the state of Wisconsin, so not just Dane County. And we're really grateful to them for leading that effort. We also had the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission, or RPC, adopt a resolution along with our policy board at the MPO. And then one of the Dane County supervisors really took the lead on issuing a press release and doing recognition of the week through her channels. Next slide. And also new this year, so last year, our recognition and activities really focused on communications. And we built on that this year by organizing our recognition efforts around this community discussion series. We worked with local partners to host 3 community discussions in Madison, Sun Prairie, and Fitchburg. These were tied to themes from When Driving is Not an Option, Anna Zivart's book. Anna was gracious enough to record a short video for us that we were able to play at the beginning of each of these panels to frame up the discussion. It was a great starting point for the conversation. And AARP donated 25 copies of on his book that then the libraries in Madison, Sun Prairie, and Fitchburg made available. So that was a wonderful resource. Just love the libraries. And that was one of the pieces of accessibility that we wanted to build into this, making the hard copies of the book as accessible as possible. At the same time, we emphasized that we wanted everyone to come to these events regardless of whether they had read the book or not, that it was not necessary to have read it. It wasn't like a book club. um, it was something that you would be able to take something away from no matter where you were at. Along with that, we also had a different panel at each event, and the panels were moderated by local policymakers and included folks including like transportation planners, engineers, non-drivers, people with disabilities, and then folks who are non-drivers for other reasons. Next slide.
And hello, yeah, Kayla Haas here. So I work as the marketing and communication specialist for the MPO. So I especially focused on outreach for these events and activities. So one of the main things that we did was go to the Dane County Farmers Market. So we set up a table on Saturday, September 27th, and we asked community members to engage with us with talk about the events coming up. Our main activity was asking folks, if you suddenly lost access to your vehicle, how would you get around? So people could drop tokens into jars labeled walk/roll, transit, carpool, rideshare, or no other options. So this was a simple visual activity and was a great way for us to start conversations. Plus, we were able to, that photo on the right there, share that on social media as a part of the week. And yeah, it was great. We handed out flyers about the events, and some of the folks that we did see at the farmers market, we saw later in the week at those events. So next slide. And we'd had media coverage ahead of the week. So we sent press releases to local community newspapers after each community issued a resolution or proclamation in support of the week. So we had a great response. Here are a few of the articles that ran. This includes a story in the Fitchburg Star, the Verona Press, and the Sun Prairie Star. Next slide, please. Okay, so our main event and the biggest draw for our media coverage was a group bus ride and press conference. So ahead of the event, we lined up a morning show segment featuring one of the participants at the event, Sun Prairie Alder and MPO Policy Board member Cassie Benedict. So she was on Channel 27's Wake Up Wisconsin that morning. Plus, there was a recorded segment that aired later that evening. So overall, really great coverage. And then at the press conference, we had 4 speakers, 3 elected leaders, and Denise Jess from the Wisconsin Council of the Blind and Visually Impaired. The City of Madison IT media team filmed that event for us, which worked out perfectly. We actually didn't have any stations there in person, but we were able to send them the video footage that the media team put together. And those clips were used and ended up getting covered in evening news later that day. So Channel 15 ran a story here in Madison, and WORT did a great feature story using both the press conference and our post-event press release that went out, and even reached out to the speakers to follow up and get new quotes and ask additional questions. Yeah, and overall, it was a huge success, and it was really just great for us to do something in person and come together as a group, especially after so many coordination meetings that took place virtually. And then next slide, please. So other communication resources, we ended up building a website for Week Without Driving in Dane County. And then we also created a specific page for the 2025 Week Without Driving, where we outlined all of the activities that we had planned for the week. We also created a promotional flyer with information about the challenge and the community discussion series we put together. We really made sure that everything was screen reader accessible and emphasized accessibility for all of the documents and outreach that we created. And there's a QR code on the screen too, if you'd like to go see that webpage. And then slide, please. So another key communication tool that for us was social media. So we created a graphic for the community discussion events and reshared it the day before each of them to give them a little extra boost and visibility. We also put together a shared Google Drive folder of social media graphics. That was a mix of designs that our team put together and materials from the national organization. And we shared that with all of the members of our coordination group so they could help spread the word. And we saw great engagement online overall. We had a lot of groups and organizations resharing our content. And then here you can see we had, Metro Transit share a post. They did a lot of promotion throughout the week. Some elected officials did little features of their rides throughout the week. And then we also just reshared all of the great news coverage that we had as well.
Okay, and then Rafi asked us to reflect on our targeted outcomes, and this was a great exercise for us. This is actually something that, as a collaborative partner group, we did not set at the beginning of all of our activities. So I think this is something that we'll definitely want to do next year when we kick off planning for Week Without Driving 2026. So these reflect Kayla and I sitting down and talking about, what our goals were from the perspective of the MPO. So short term, we were really looking at broadening regional buy-in. So in terms of partner engagement, increasing the number of partners who were involved in our planning calls and in promoting the week during the week. And then increasing the number of communities who were officially recognizing the week through a proclamation or recognition. And then broadly, of course, the whole point of the week, raising public awareness about the types and the number of non-drivers in our communities, as well as the challenges that they face. So, at the beginning of this presentation, we talked about 30% of our community are non-drivers for a variety of reasons. And that number alone is something that when people hear it, they're like, wow, that's a light bulb moment. Tell me more about that. So that was our big focus short term. Long term, we definitely want to see more policymaker participation. That's something that we intend to focus on more next year. We did not do a lot of one-on-one direct outreach to policymakers beyond those who were already involved in our planning team. And then we want to see this broader awareness as we promote Week Without Driving year over year. Public awareness increases. We really want to see that translating into more non-drivers being at the transportation decision-making table, and then greater public support for those actionable things like policies and funding and infrastructure that's going to make our transportation system better for everyone and really increase the benefits for non-drivers, moving us away from this completely car-oriented system. Next slide.
Yeah, and then as we reflected on our what worked throughout the week, we said partner engagement expanded this year. So we had staff from the Wisconsin Council of the Blind and Visually Impaired a part of that group this year, as well as the City of Madison Department of Civil Rights and Metro Transit. This was their first year regularly participating in our coordination group meetings, and that was a really big help for us. And then we also had a member of the City of Madison Disability Rights Commission join us after we presented to them at a meeting. That said, we would still love to have even more participation in that group next year, especially from non-drivers. Another success was we had great recognition across communities in Dane County, and our media event and coverage were fantastic. Another thing that we did this year was shift the message a little bit. So instead of asking people to not drive for a week, we focused more on telling people try getting around without driving for the week, a day, or even just one trip, just so to make it so people can participate more easily. And then we also, as Zia mentioned, got a head start on planning, which really helped. And we saw more peer-to-peer engagement, like elected officials encouraging other alders or leaders to take part in the challenge. And then things we really want to add or improve on in 2026 is event attendance. That could have been stronger. We talked about rethinking the format or timing and maybe adding food or refreshments, as well as starting outreach a little bit earlier. We also talked about engaging policymakers earlier as well. So maybe getting commitments to participate in the challenge as early as July or August, and as well as having the MPO or community leaders doing presentations before municipalities vote on a resolution or issue a proclamation. We also talked about expanding outreach to towns and villages. For example, we heard that Maple Bluff might be interested in joining or issuing some sort of resolution in support of the week, and they suggested presenting at the Dane County Cities and Villages Association next year. And then for experiential learning opportunities, the City of Madison Department of Civil Rights got approval to do what we called ride-alongs this year, and that was on paratransit trips or with Hmong community members who ride transit. So having local leaders join them for their trips. This was something that we had sent out and said, like, if you're interested, please email the Department of Civil Rights to coordinate. There was none of these that ended up getting scheduled. So we talked about really focusing more on this next year, and as well as maybe doing some walk, ride, and roll audits as well. And then finally, we talked about doing a better job tying into local planning efforts. So paratransit improvements, Fitchburg's transit expansion that's happening next year, and Complete Streets initiatives. And yeah, that's all from Zia and I. Please reach out to us if you have any questions, or let us know in the chat or on here.
Thank you, Kayla and Zia. I'll leave this up for a second, so if anyone wants to take a screenshot or copy down their contact information. I see some questions and comments coming up in the chat. Thank you for those. We'll get to them at the end. And then now I'll shift us over to Andrea Fox from Green Bay. She is going to tell us about what went on in Green Bay for the Week Without Driving.
Thank you. So this is actually the second consecutive year the City of Green Bay has participated in the Week Without Driving. We have 4 employees working together on the event. 2 are focused on internal employee participation, so that would be myself and then our wellness coordinator, and we both work in human resources, so it's a little different. And then the other 2 are from our community and economic development department, and they were focused more on reaching community members. Last year we didn't have enough time to do much planning, and actually it was when it was first brought up, they said, hey, this is Week Without Driving, and we would like to do it, but we don't have really any time to plan this year. So we just wanted to share and get this on everyone's radar. And then I was like, let's just do it. Let's start it. So last year we decided that we only had a few weeks heads up. So we kept it internal for internal employees only. And we created a bingo card, and each square had various things like carpool to work or walk to lunch or dinner today. So just a lot of different challenges. In addition to our bus system, we also have scooters that people can rent and bikes. So there were some challenges on the bingo card as well with that, as far as like downloading the app and telling us how much it would cost to take a 15-minute ride on a scooter. So lots of different things for people to do and try. And we just really focused on just trying to educate our internal employees the first year. So the second year, we wanted to expand it to community members as well. And that the first year really, like we were really glad we did it. We just jumped right in. And even though it wasn't a big year for us or anything, it really set us up for this year. So next slide, please. So that brings us to our goals. So after having the first year of just internal employees completing that bingo card, we decided that for 2025, our initial goals were we want to partner with at least one other community organization, and then we wanted to increase employee participation. And our long-term goals were to show the public that a week without driving is easier than they think, because what we found is that people were just really confused and intimidated by the bus station for whatever reason. So we really wanted to focus on that. and then to educate the community on our non-drivers experiences. I just don't think enough people, and maybe not enough decision makers, really are aware just how many non-drivers live in our county, let alone Wisconsin. So that was really important to us. And then the last long-term goal we established was to build familiarity with the Green Bay Metro Transit. So that's really rolls back into that first long-term goal too. So they all kind of played with each other, but we were just thought it'd be really important this year to set goals and focus on those. Next slide. So that brought us to our objectives. This is another reason why we wanted to start our goals first, just to make sure our objectives were in line and helping us reach our goals. We wanted to share the stories of the non-drivers in our own community through videos that we shared on social media. So on the far left of the slide, there's just a quick screenshot from Facebook. And we partnered with the ADRC, so our county's Aging and Disability Resource Center. And we were able to find some people that agreed to let our videographer take a video and make a Facebook post with it, just really highlighting their personal experiences. And what we found was those posted really, really well. And it was just really interesting to hear the different stories of how someone can become a non-driver. And for an example, this video on the left, he was 16, so he never, this individual never got his driver's license, so he's never been a driver. So it's just really cool to share those stories with the public. We also continued the bingo card for employees. We kept it mostly the same, except we did not have a home Packer game during Week Without Driving this year. So last year, one of our squares was ride Green Bay Metro for free during a home Packer game. So that's something that our community offers, is free rides on Sundays, just to help with the drinking and driving. So everybody in at Lambeau Field can take a ride on Metro to even some of our nearby cities that aren't necessarily in the city of Green Bay. So unfortunately, we didn't have a home game this year, so we had to change that blackout with something else. But we really tried to be very consistent with these. And also we like the layout because you cannot get bingo by just looking things up online. We made sure to mix it up so that you had to actively also participate in something. Because we do have options in there too about, read an article about non-drivers in Wisconsin and their hurdles that they experience. So we really tried to be just really intent on what we had our employees do and what order they could get bingo in. We wanted to make sure everybody had to actually take some time to do the things. We didn't want people to just get the bingo card, fill it out, and then send it back in. And with our bingo card, everyone who turned it in, their name was put in a drawing for a prize. So we usually have gift baskets that we give out. And then they can also earn 25 points for completing the bingo card, which is just 4 squares in a row. They can do more than that if they wanted. And those 25 points goes towards our Health 1265, which is our health insurance program that helps us get lower rates and just kind of helps make everyone healthier. And then on the far right side of the slide, this is actually one of our posts that received the most attention. So what we did is we gathered a group of employees and we met up with Andrea Vlach from Green Bay Metro. She is our mobility coordinator. So her job is to teach people how to ride the bus. So if we our children can ride the bus to a school for free if they're not already on a bus route, a school bus route. So they can ride our public transportation for free to school. All they have to do is show their ID card. So we wanted to really remind our community members of this, but not just that, but we have children whose parents are going to work and have to ride Green Bay Metro by themselves to school. So what we do is Andrea will meet them wherever they need to be met at, their home, somewhere in public, wherever. And she shows up with a bus pass for the day and teaches that child how to ride the bus. Here's your bus stop. This is when you pull the chain. This is what you do. And she answers all those questions, gives them little notes to tell them where to, you should leave your house at this time to walk to your nearest bus stop, which is right here. And you want to get on bus number, whatever. So it's really cool that we have that for our community members and it's free of charge. So Andrea's out there nonstop just teaching people how to ride the bus. So we took that group of employees and we had 3 or 4 different ways to ride the bus between different types of passes and stuff. And she just went through and taught us all how to ride the bus. We took pictures, videos for social media, and we showed them how to, she showed us how to use the various apps that work across the state. So if you download a certain app, you can not only use it for Green Bay Metro, but you can use it in other major cities as well. So that was really interesting. And we learned a lot just by hosting Week Without Driving for our city. So turned out that was actually the post that got the most attention as well. So that was really good because it obviously caught people's attention, but also hopefully they learned something from it. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to our successes, which I kind of touched on already. We partnered with the Aging and Disability Resource Center. So that was one of our short-term goals, is to partner with somebody. So that was perfect. We thought partnering would be really easy. And that's why I have a question in the chat for Madison when we're all done. We thought finding partners would be so easy because it just made sense. Like, this is something, we have colleges with non-drivers, we have schools, we have so many potential partners in our area. But what we found were that a lot of the partners just thought we would come in and do an event for their employees. So it was a little tricky, and we need to figure out our wording and how we're going to connect with potential partners in the future. So I have if anyone has any success stories or how to do that, please share at the end. So that was our success. So we at least partnered with that one person, and they helped us with the videos, finding people who were willing and open to being recorded and put all over social media. So that was huge. Another success was we had a 33% increase in employee participation from last year. So that would be the bingo card. Green Bay Metro Transit had an increase of 360 trips during the Week Without Driving. So that's almost double what they normally do. So it was really, really impressive that we had reached that many people during that week to at least try riding the bus. And then we also had, our Green Bay Metro gave us 20 bus passes to hand out. So we had some pop-up City Hall events in different various parks during that month, with the mayor was there and different city departments, so that they can share with the public what we do at City Hall. And we were able to give away 20 Metro passes for free. So that was really exciting as well. And then we increased social media views and interactions, which was, one of our main modes of communication. So we did 11 total posts just strictly on Week Without Driving. We had 111 total interactions, 9,975 total views. And again, our most viewed post was our post explaining people and teaching them how to use the bus. Also, to back up a little bit here, the bus passes, that was a big deal because last year we tried doing posts with Green Bay Metro and they were trying to give away bus passes and nobody came and took them. So it was really interesting because we were trying to give away free bus passes and we couldn't even give them away the first year. But then the second year, we started kind of finding the different places where to connect with people and get them the bus passes. Next slide. So this was kind of an unexpected win for us, is that continuing public education. Once we started seeing how many interactions we were getting in the post about how to use Green Bay Metro, we decided this would be a great time to start sharing how to report a broken sidewalk, or sidewalks that aren't shoveled, or just whatever it may be, somebody's parked on the sidewalk. So this is a screenshot of a post that we created to teach our community members where you would report something like that, because we check it daily and the problems get fixed very quickly. So that was really exciting because typically we get people calling the mayor's office and want to know how to get a sidewalk fixed. And this way we're now teaching people exactly who to contact and how and when. And this also received quite a few views and clicks as well. Next slide. So we had a lot of our wins, but our opportunities for growth were, I really want to partner with elected officials to increase our community participation in the future years. I think that's going to be key. And especially, from watching Madison's slideshow, I think that's so important, just to show that our decision makers understand the importance of the event, and just that we show them publicly participating. I think that's just going to get more community participation as well. The city of Green Bay also created a new position this year. We have a director of communications. Before that, we don't have a marketing department. We have no marketing team. We have nothing. And our director of communications works in the mayor's office, which I think is going to help us with that community participation piece as well. Also, we had the draft this year, the NFL draft. So that took a lot of our resources from us. And when we should have been ramping up for a week without driving and the planning and just making sure we had all those partners set, that the draft really was the biggest thing on everyone's mind. So it was difficult to get that buy-in. So yeah, so next year we want to find more of those partners and sponsors too for the event. So that's one of our big goals and just wanting to grow it. So next slide. And this is it. And this is our team from Community and Economic Development and Human Resources. And then not intended to be on our team, but someone that we will probably just keep in from day one till the end and recaps is Andrea Blatch from Green Bay Metro, because she is that mobility coordinator and she teaches people how to use public transportation. That is her full-time job. And she's so good at it and she makes it so fun. So I think next time her name will just be added in here. She was just one of our resources last time, but from here on out, we think that she's probably one of the, key people on the team. So we'll be adding her as well. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Andrea,
Thanks.
for telling us all about Green Bay. I heard some really cool points from you. Even though you had some limited capacity the first year and this year, it was really cool to see what you could do within those limitations or restrictions of the city. So thank you. Now we'll move on to our final, last but not least, the La Crosse Area Transit Advocates Kathy Van Maren and Lizzie Freiseth. If I apologize if I didn't say that correctly. They are a more grassroots approach to gathering people to do Week Without Driving activities. So Kathy and Lizzie, I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you. Yeah, we are a totally volunteer group, and so that's one of the differences. This is, I think, our fourth year of doing Week Without Driving, and every year it seems to get bigger and different. So this year we had 19 co-sponsors, and co-sponsor for us just meant you'll help publicize this event. You will encourage your contacts or clients or customers to participate. And then if they wanted to, co-sponsors could also host a Week Without Driving event and or contribute a prize for our bingo. We do a bingo too. Here it is. I didn't send it, but if you want to go to the next slide, I don't remember what I sent. So yeah, so that, yeah, okay, perfect. This is our flyer and shows some of the special events that we did. Our co-sponsors included organizations like Coulee Region Sierra Club and Disability Action Network, a faith group, agencies like the YW and Independent Living Resources, businesses and governmental bodies. So we had quite a great broad variety of people on this. And so I'm going to talk a bit about the organizing, and then Liz is going to talk about really the most important part, which is advocating. So as you can see, we did have some special events, and I'll just highlight a few of them. The Unitarians, even just before the week started, had a panel, and then they also, because we do a bingo, they also had a little session about how to do the bingo, which meant that they went through the events and they showed the bingo card, which includes things like talking to non-drivers or talking to businesses about bike parking or taking the bus, other things like that. And I think we're going to do more of that in future. We did have a press event, or I should call it the no press event, on the 23rd, because in our community, Oktoberfest is a huge thing, and Oktoberfest went right up to the first day of Week Without Driving. So we tried to do it a little early, but no press came. They said my emails ended up in their spam filter. But we did record it and sent it out, and that resulted in media coverage before the week started. So everything turned out okay. Um, so in addition to the UU event, we had a group bike ride by a business. Our Coulee Region Sierra Club hosted a ride on our Scenic Mississippi Regional Transit, doing a Transit to Trails event during recognized public lands month. So it was like a trifecta. And we learned about the Coon Creek watershed. We had a film, we had panel discussions. And this slide here is our city planners hosted a ride with elected officials. And it was like the most beautiful day for a bike ride ever. And we had a really good group. And there were elected officials, there were also planners, so that we were able to go where people commute and see the good and the bad and what needs improvement. So next slide, I'm not sure what it is, but oh yeah, okay. These are just two of the events. Wrench and Roll, a bike shop, did a ride at dusk through the commuter trails that got pretty good turnout. And then the bottom slide is our group that went to Coon Valley on the Smart Bus. And that turned out great too. I think that some of the things that we might want to do better in the future, I'm not sure what the next slide is or if there even is one, is get more involvement from the city. Like our city has a community citizens with disabilities committee, a bike ped advisory committee, and they got a little involved, but they could have been more involved. So as with others, I think that in the future we would like to do a little bit more outreach to get more people involved. And I would also like to say that what helped us a lot is America Walks, the national co-sponsor, has such great resources, from graphics and flyers and talking points and all kinds of templates and webinars. So if anyone else is considering doing this next year, I really highly recommend checking that out. Now, next year, it's going to be a different group as the national organizer, but I'm sure the resources will still be available. So that's it. It was just a bunch of people doing things together to highlight taking the bus and biking. And we did do some rides with electeds. And if she's still on, I'm going to pass the mic to Liz Fryseth, because she's been doing a lot of advocacy with this event and with others.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here this afternoon with all of you. A few things I wanted to talk about. I think it's important having your mayor be open to the conversation. And I know that last year I was fortunate before he became mayor to talk with our mayor on the bus during a ride with an elected, which led to having a great conversation to talk transit and just having that open line of communication of things that are great, things that are not great, and then inviting them on the bus as well. Now, a lot of what Week Without Driving is the people and the stories, and that was really important, especially with having electeds get on the bus. because yes, we can talk about what life is like with Week Without Driving, but it's the people's impactful stories and having that constituent sit right next to them on the bus and to talk about those things. Another thing that was vital was empowering our young people and how we did that. So last year, Week Without Driving went off without a hitch, but we noticed that there was a big group of young folks that were being missed, and that was our K through 12, which um, we looped in and had them for Transit Equity Day ride the bus and taught them how to ride the bus and how to be an advocate and a change maker for all, which led to some really great conversations that followed through to this year, where we introduced the Week Without Driving bingo, which got a lot of parents to push and try it for themselves if they couldn't do it on their own. Now, if we go a little bit older, which our college students, along with their bus pass or their student ID, is a bus pass for our MTU, is what our conglomerate of our bus. A lot of them come to school and they realize that parking is an issue, and so using that as a force and say, hey, why don't you try to ride the bus? So a lot of outreach was done early on in the year to circumvent. I mean, given it was Oktoberfest, it was a great opportunity to say it's still a safe way home, to, from, or wherever you need to go. But the college has been wonderful. They did the bike ride. We had some really good conversations. I would think for next year, I would like to introduce more walk audits and having the police more on board, and inviting more people from the community, especially in troubled areas. Um, I think that would be one thing I would really like to. And one thing I wanted to touch base at the last point here, is our community partner involvement. So we try to think outside the box, um, and think about, businesses that may or may not have had the reach, as some other obvious ones. We've partnered with ILR, which is our Independent Living Resources, our Disability Action Network, but looking inside our focal point being, with other groups like Kathy had mentioned, our Bike Ped committee. But we also looked about our community and said, what about businesses that serve people that are underprivileged? And that would look like the YWCA, the YMCA, um, our library partnered. We did a wonderful panel discussion, and inviting those partners to just have a space that they could help promote if they want, but then also it leads to a doorway where we can introduce for next year. Hey, we really enjoyed you being on. As a co-sponsor, would you think about hosting an event? And then maybe tailoring a portion of that to whatever their cause may be. Um, I think that is about it for me, and I will turn it back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz, for that insight. And thank you, everyone, from Green Bay and Madison and La Crosse for being here to share your stories about how the week without driving went. We have just under 10 minutes left, so I want to just highlight some of the key things that I heard. And feel free to leave your reactions as well, everyone who attended today. But key things that I think align across all groups was that there's really a desire to have more elected officials really involved in the conversation and participating. I think that's pretty key. Nothing. It's really great that community members are involved, and then how do we push it forward? And it's to have our leaders really understand what the situation is like. Expanding partnerships was a big part of this conversation. I know that Madison had well, everyone had pretty diverse and robust groups of partners, but I think there was also some creativity in who you reached out to. So I do have a question about that after this. And then I actually want to ask one big question ahead of that. Um, and Madison kind of touched on this already with Week Without Driving aligning already with their city's goals of creating a better mobility network. But if any of you could share if the Week Without Driving was really helpful in advancing other specific work or broad city plans to improve mobility in your area.
Well, the city of La Crosse has a climate action plan, and a whole section of that plan has to do with transportation and mobility, with goals of reducing vehicle miles traveled, getting more people on bikes and buses. So having our planners involved in this, they were able to point out where those things connected. We also just updated our bike ped master plan. And again, there were things within that plan that we were able to highlight as we did the bike ride, but also during the week.
You. Okay,
I can
oh,
mention.
sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I can mention that in our region, we weren't tying Week Without Driving to any specific policy initiatives that were happening this year. However, it definitely supports, we have communities in our region who have either adopted or in the process of adopting Vision Zero policies and then moving forward those plans, along with bike ped plans and complete streets policies. So I think, that's where a lot of our partner engagement came in, is that pretty much every community in our region is working on something related to transportation safety and accessibility. And so they saw the value in participating in something like this. And then next year, as Kayla mentioned, we were talking with our partners about, well, what's coming next year? And there will be some specific opportunities we can tie into, like transit expansion in Fitchburg and complete streets policy processes that are underway. So we're excited to add that in next year.
Another thing I'll add to is that we encouraged all the municipalities that adopted a proclamation or resolution in support of the week to tie in their local planning efforts and really highlight those and how they relate to the week. So we didn't want them to all be the exact same or even do some sort of template and say copy and paste it, but we really encouraged them to have those stand out.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, that's interesting to me. Like it's really great to hear about how your approach to having those folks speak on Vision Zero and how it relates to Week Without Driving. I know that's something, and I don't mean to call folks out in the call who are in Milwaukee who are very aware or involved with Vision Zero, but um, that's something we were thinking of is how can Week Without Driving advance our Vision Zero plans? And so again, it's great to hear what your approach was. Um, Okay, we got 4 minutes. So I have a question about partnerships since that came up a lot and you all expressed a want and a desire to expand those. Were there any that were surprising or like you looked in a not obvious place, but they kind of worked out as a really great partner as you were planning and implementing your Week Without Driving? Or were they all obvious and great, amazing partners?
I think every year we put the word out to about 35 or 40 groups. People have done stuff with us in the past. And I would say this year, having the Unitarians involved was really great. They have a very strong, sustainable, and climate program. And so they were able to bring a whole different focus than we usually do. And like I said, they did that how to do it thing at the beginning, which just really opened up ideas for future events.
Any other interesting partners or any from the audience who have tips or ideas that they'd want to share with these groups? I saw a comment earlier that someone from Milwaukee would be really interested in expanding to this area. And any tips for getting started on that? Like I was mentioning, with Vision Zero, we were trying to think of ways to connect them and advance this, but then things got kind of hectic and then we weren't able to plan too much here in Milwaukee officially.
I mean, one thing we can just say is planning early. We did a lot more this year than last year, and that was just because our coordination group started in March instead of late spring, early summer.
Okay, sure.
Even if it's just a monthly call, that's what we started out doing.
Yeah, and I was going to add to that, just, if you're reaching out to a new partner, not making an assumption, like just going in and asking them. Because a lot of times you might assume like, oh, they're, not sure if they're going to say yes. And it's like, just go for it. And if they say no, it's fine. I would say that I think we were really, really pleased by the community reception to this when we approached communities and said, hey, we're raising awareness about this week without driving. Would you be interested in adopting a resolution or issuing a proclamation? And, even some of our more suburban communities that don't necessarily have like all of the non-driver kind of amenities that Madison has, transit service, bike lanes, all the things that they still said, yeah, this is something we want to promote and raise awareness about.
I think too, when you're inviting co-sponsors, look, see if you can find the bridge between what they do and what the week is about, and B, make it easy for them. Like, our base level of getting in is help us promote the event. Well, that's pretty easy. And somebody who comes in just to do that one year may decide to host a program or do more the following years.
Thank you all. We're about 1 minute to one. Well, it's now one. But thank you all again for attending. I just want to call out one more thing that I thought was really awesome, working within the limitations that we had. Andrea, you mentioned the opportunities for educating people on where and when to talk about these things, and so I thought that was also really something cool to highlight. In how big or small your events happen to turn out for a week without driving. It can be education, it can be big events. But yes, thank you all. Have a good rest of your Monday. The recording will be out soon. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.